Welcome back. There were plenty of fireworks at the final debate of 2016, but what did the voters think?
Joining us live from Las Vegas is one of our favorites, Lee Carter. She's a partner at Maslansky and Partners, and she just put last night's big debate moments to the dial test. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning. Great to be here.
So let's begin with Trump on whether he will accept the results of the election. Listen to what he had to say.
Do you make the same commitment that you will absolutely, sir, that you will absolutely accept the results of this election?
I will look at it at the time. I'm not looking at anything now. I'll look at it at the time. What I've seen is so bad. First of all, the media is so dishonest and so corrupt, and the pile-on is so amazing. The New York Times actually wrote an article about it that they don't even care. It's so dishonest, and they poisoned the minds of the voters. But unfortunately for them, I think the voters are seeing through it.
Those lines, they spread apart, then they come back together. What is the grade there?
So you can see independents and Republicans gave him a C for this response. Democrats gave him an F. Now, the C is a blended result of that whole response. You could see every single word matters, and it matters so much. His initial response, he said, we're going to see. He didn't answer the question, and people were really frustrated by this. They want him to own up to whatever the result is, and this is something that I'm sure is going to be one of those sound bites we're going to see over and over and over again, because it is one of those moments that both independents and Republicans still questioned his thin-skinnedness.
Yeah, a big issue for a lot of voters is the Second Amendment. Hillary Clinton spoke to that. Let's take a listen.
I think we need comprehensive background checks. We need to close the online loophole, close the gun show loophole. There's other matters that I think are sensible, that are the kind of reforms that would make a difference, that are not in any way conflicting with the Second Amendment.
This seemed to be a pretty strong moment for her.
This was one of the strongest moments of the night for her. Democrats gave her an A, independents a C, Republicans a D. But what they said is even if they don't agree with Hillary Clinton on most issues, she did seem to be reasonable on this one, willing to compromise, and that's what they want to hear if she is in fact going to be president.
Yeah. All right, so we've heard the movie phrase, show me the money. Trump was like, give back the money. Listen to what he had to say.
These are people that kill women and treat women horribly, and yet you take their money. So I'd like to ask you right now, why don't you give back the money that you've taken from certain countries that treat certain groups of people so horribly? Why don't you give back the money? I think it would be a great gesture.
Talking about the Clinton Foundation there. So a good moment for him, right?
It was a very strong moment for him. Both Republicans and independents gave him an A, Democrats only a D. But here's the thing that was so interesting about that. This is the same exact rhetorical style that Elizabeth Warren used on the CEO of Wells Fargo. Just, why don't you give back the money? Why don't you've got to take accountability here. I want to see ownership. And it's one that resonated then, and it resonated now.
Speaking of foreign leaders and countries, Russia continues to be part of this election process. Last night there was a moment that Hillary blamed Russia for the WikiLeaks releases. Let's take a listen to that.
Finally, will Donald Trump admit and condemn that the Russians are doing this and make it clear that he will not have the help of Putin in this election, that he rejects Russian espionage against Americans, which he actually encouraged in the past? Those are the questions we need answered. We've never had anything like this happen in any of our elections before.
Lee, what was the response to that?
So this was one of the worst moments of Hillary Clinton's night. Now, you can't see it entirely in here because it's a whole soundbite. You can remember when she was asked about WikiLeaks, she said open borders, and her response was, let's talk about Russia. People really weren't that forgiving of her. Republicans and Democrats there, you can see where, Republicans and independents were as low as they could go there with an F. Independents were more forgiving as she made the pivot to Russia. But really, people wanted to hear her response to, are you going to have open borders or not?
Right.
What she said about open borders, and specifically in a paid speech with Goldman Sachs.
What you say behind closed doors and out on the stump, two very different things.
Thank you, Lee.
Everything that's private is public now.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Thanks, Lee. Good to see you.